The old hunting cabin sat at the edge of the forest, a weathered testament to years gone by. I had heard whispers of a spectral stag that haunted these woods, its mournful cries echoing through the trees. As a seasoned hunter, the challenge called to me, drawing me into the heart of the unknown. The autumn night was crisp, the air carrying the scent of fallen leaves and damp earth. Armed with my rifle and a lantern, I set out into the inky darkness. The moon hung low, casting long shadows that danced with the rustle of the leaves. The forest seemed alive with secrets, each tree harboring a story untold. I moved cautiously, the crunch of leaves beneath my boots a somber soundtrack to the eerie silence. The legend spoke of a stag with eyes as black as the void, a creature that moved between the realms of the living and the dead. It was said that those who sought it were forever changed, marked by the ghostly encounter. As I ventured deeper, the trees closed in, their skeletal branches reaching out like bony fingers. The lantern's feeble light struggled against the encroaching darkness, revealing twisted shadows that seemed to shift with a life of their own. My breath hung in the air, a visible reminder of the chill that seeped into the very marrow of my bones. A distant sound echoed through the woods, a mournful, otherworldly cry that sent shivers down my spine. The legends were true, the spectral stag was near. Determination and trepidation warred within me as I followed the haunting melody that seemed to beckon me into the heart of the unknown. The clearing appeared before me like a portal to another realm. Moonlight spilled onto the ground, revealing a majestic stag with antlers that reached for the heavens. Its coat was a shadowy black, and its eyes, like twin orbs of obsidian, stared directly into my soul. The air hummed with an ancient power, and the forest itself seemed to bow to the presence of this spectral guardian. I raised my rifle, but a voice, not my own, whispered in the recesses of my mind, urging me to lower it. The stag's eyes held a wisdom beyond the mortal realm, and I understood, this was not a creature to be hunted, but a guardian of the ethereal boundaries. The stag stepped forward, its hooves making no sound as it moved with an otherworldly grace. I felt a strange connection, as if the creature could read the chapters of my life written in the lines of my face. The whispers of the wind carried fragments of forgotten stories, tales of those who had stood in this very clearing, caught between the realms of the living and the dead. With a flick of its majestic head, the stag turned away, disappearing into the shadows. The mournful cries faded, leaving me alone in the clearing. The forest, once charged with an eerie energy, now felt still, as if the spirits themselves held their breath in anticipation. I retraced my steps, the lantern casting long shadows that seemed to dance with the memory of the encounter. The legends of the spectral stag would continue, passed down through generations, each tale woven with a thread of truth that only those who had stood in its presence could understand. As I reached the edge of the forest, the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and gold. The hunting cabin emerged from the darkness, a silent witness to the encounter that transcended the boundaries of the known. I carried with me the weight of the stories, a hunter marked by the touch of the spectral stag and forever bound to the mysteries of the haunted woods. The autumn chill clung to the air as I trudged through the dense woods, my breath escaping invisible puffs. The crisp crunch of fallen leaves beneath my boots echoed through the silent forest. I was on the hunt, chasing the elusive prey that had haunted my dreams for weeks, the legendary phantom buck. The stories had been passed down from generation to generation, whispered around campfires with a mix of awe and fear. A massive buck, its antlers reaching for the heavens, with fur as black as the midnight sky. They said it was a creature not of this world, a spirit of the wilderness that had eluded hunters for centuries. It was said that those who sought it were either blessed with unparalleled luck or cursed with unrelenting misfortune. Armed with my rifle and a determination that bordered on obsession, I ventured into the heart of the haunted forest. The trees towered above, their skeletal branches reaching out like spectral fingers. The woods seemed to come alive with a symphony of rustling leaves and distant calls of unseen creatures, yet an eerie hush blanketed the air. As I moved deeper into the wilderness, a strange sensation settled over me, a feeling that I was being watched. I shook off the unease, attributing it to the nerves that accompanied any hunting expedition. But as the shadows deepened and the sun dipped below the horizon, the woods transformed into a realm of darkness and uncertainty. I reached a clearing bathed in the pale light of the moon, and a strange stillness hung in the air. The legend spoke of this very place, where the phantom buck was said to reveal itself under the silver glow of the night. I crouched behind a gnarled tree, my senses heightened, every rustle in the underbrush sending a shiver down my spine. Minutes passed like hours, and just when doubt began to gnaw at the edges of my resolve, a sound echoed through the silence, a haunting, ethereal call that seemed to emanate from the depths of the forest. My heart quickened, and I strained my eyes to pierce the darkness. And then, it emerged. The phantom buck materialized at the edge of the clearing, a majestic creature with fur as black as the legends foretold. Its eyes, a luminous gold, held a wisdom that transcended the natural world. The antlers, adorned with an otherworldly glow, seemed to reach into the very fabric of the night. I raised my rifle, fingers trembling with a mix of anticipation and fear. The legends had spoken of the choice every hunter faced when encountering the phantom buck, a choice that could alter fate itself. Shoot the majestic creature and be cursed, or lower the weapon and perhaps be granted an otherworldly boon. As I took aim, the woods seemed to hold its breath. The buck turned its gaze toward me, locking eyes in a silent exchange that echoed with ancient understanding. In that moment, a realization gripped me. I was not the hunter, I was the intruder in a realm beyond my understanding. A voice, soft and spectral, whispered through the stillness of the night. "Seek not to conquer, mortal, for the forest holds its own balance." The words hung in the air, a cautionary echo that reverberated through the depths of my soul. The rifle grew heavy in my hands, and doubt clawed at the edges of my resolve. The legends had not prepared me for the weight of this decision, for the choice between the thrill of the hunt and the respect owed to a creature that transcended the realms of the living. With a deep breath, I lowered the rifle, the echoes of the forest sighing in approval. The phantom buck regarded me with a nod, its antlers seeming to shimmer with an ethereal energy. It turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving me alone in the moonlit clearing. As I stood there, the forest came alive once more, the rustling leaves, the distant calls of unseen creatures, the heartbeat of nature itself. I felt a strange sense of gratitude and a humbling acknowledgement that I had glimpsed something beyond the mundane, something that defied the boundaries of the natural world. I retraced my steps through the silent woods, the weight of the unspoken encounter settling over me. The legends had spoken of the phantom buck as a test, a trial for those who sought the thrill of the hunt. Yet, what I had experienced went beyond legend. It was a communion with the wild, a dance with the supernatural. As I emerged from the forest, the first light of dawn painted the horizon in hues of pink and gold. The haunted woods retreated into the shadows, and the legends of the phantom buck would continue to be whispered around campfires. But I, the witness to the otherworldly encounter, carried with me a tale that transcended the thrill of the hunt, a tale of respect for the mysteries that dwell in the heart of the wilderness. The moon cast a cold glow on the dense forest as I trudged through the underbrush, rifle slung over my shoulder. My breath hung in the frigid air, a visible testament to the chill that seeped into my bones. I was on the trail of the legendary black-eyed buck, a creature whispered about in hunting circles and feared by those who dared enter these woods. The stories were always hushed, shared around campfires with the reverence reserved for things beyond understanding. A massive buck with obsidian eyes, they said, a harbinger of misfortune. Those who claimed to have encountered it spoke of an otherworldly gaze that pierced the soul and carried with it a curse that lingered long after the sighting. It wasn't a quest for glory or a need to prove myself that drew me to these woods. No, it was the thrill of the hunt, the unspoken challenge that called to something primal within. The tales of the black-eyed buck only fueled my determination, an itch that begged to be scratched. So, here I was, venturing into the heart of the unknown. The forest was eerily silent, devoid of the usual nocturnal symphony. The crunch of leaves beneath my boots echoed in the emptiness, each step a reminder of my solitude. A persistent feeling crawled up my spine, a nagging awareness that I was being watched. I shook it off as mere nerves, the product of an overactive imagination fueled by the stories I'd heard. The night air grew thicker as I pressed on, the shadows deepening around me. My flashlight cut through the darkness, a feeble attempt to push back the encroaching black. The pale beam revealed gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, and the occasional rustle of unseen creatures added to the unsettling ambience. As I trudged deeper into the woods, the moon became obscured by the thick canopy overhead. The darkness intensified, and an oppressive weight settled on my chest. I could almost taste the unease in the air, the prelude to something unknown and sinister. The rhythmic thump of my heart in my ears seemed to synchronize with the hushed whispers that danced on the edge of perception. It was then that I saw it, a pair of eyes gleaming in the darkness. The stories flooded my mind, and a chill crept up my spine. The eyes were not like any I had seen before, devoid of the usual warmth that accompanies the gaze of a wild animal. Instead, they shone like polished onyx, reflecting an otherworldly intelligence. The black-eyed buck stood before me, its massive form barely visible in the shadows. The air crackled with an unnatural energy as the creature regarded me with those abyssal eyes. I hesitated, caught between the thrill of the hunt and an instinctual fear that clawed at the edges of my consciousness. Without warning, the buck turned and vanished into the darkness. I hesitated for only a moment before giving chase. The pursuit led me deeper into the labyrinth of trees, each step taking me further from the world I knew. The forest seemed to twist and contort, playing tricks on my senses. Whispers surrounded me, indistinct and haunting, like the mournful cries of forgotten spirits. Time lost its meaning as I stumbled through the inky blackness, guided only by the elusive glimmer of those black eyes. The forest became a shifting maze, the trees closing in around me like a malevolent force. Panic clawed at the edges of my consciousness, and I questioned whether this pursuit was a choice or a curse. As I rounded a gnarled tree, the buck reappeared, standing in a clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow. Its eyes locked onto mine, and an unspoken understanding passed between us. It wasn't a mere animal, it was a guardian of the unknown, a spectral force that had lured me into its domain. The whispers crescendoed, a cacophony of voices from the past, present, and future. I felt the weight of my actions, the consequences of a pursuit that transcended the boundaries of the natural world. The black-eyed buck, an emissary of the unknown, had chosen me as a vessel for its curse. With a solemn nod, the creature vanished into the shadows, leaving me alone in the clearing. The air grew still, and the forest reclaimed its silence. The weight on my chest lifted, replaced by an unsettling calm. I stood there, haunted by the realization that I had become a part of the legends, a chapter in the stories shared around campfires. As I retraced my steps, the forest seemed to release its grip, and the oppressive darkness gave way to the moonlit night. The whispers faded, and the gnarled branches no longer reached out like skeletal fingers. I emerged from the woods changed, marked by an encounter with the unknown. The tales of the black-eyed buck would continue, passed down through the ages. Those who ventured into the haunted woods would hear the stories, each narrative intertwined with the unspoken truth that I, too, had walked among the shadows.